Previously on 5 Leagues from the Borderlands, we learned who our heroes were, discovered where they were headed, gained a contract to rescue a priest in distress, and then was waylaid by bandits en route. In this episode, we will witness our heroes of the Whitewood Mercenary Company take on a bunch of desperate bandits and do battle. Will our heroes reign supreme? Will Peach the Unremarkable put into practice what mediocre sword skills he's learned? And will he ever get to finish that bull milking ditty? Join me for story time and learn the basics of combat in 5 Leagues from the Borderlands. As our heroes travelled along the east road to the Iron River Bridge, their tummies filled full of breakfast and singing heartily in the sun-drenched meadows and fields of Blackvale. However, en route, they were waylaid by a group of desperate and mean-looking brigands. This was not something they anticipated and would certainly slow them down in their attempts to rescue the priest, maybe put them a day or two behind, which may not be a good thing. As our heroes have been ambushed, we will be using Scenario B, Defensive Battle. Firstly, I need to discover what sort of foe my band of merry adventurers will be facing. So what we'll need to do is find the relevant enemy table, and here we'll be looking at the roadside encounters table. So all we have to do is just roll a D100 and find out who they'll be facing. And in this situation, it is some ragtag brigands, as you can see by the chart here. Not especially frightening, but they will get an additional 4 brigands added to any dice roll I make. To find out the enemy numbers you'll face, simply roll 2 d6s, picking the highest. Now, having rolled 2 2s, it didn't seem that troubling at all, but don't forget I'll be adding 4 to that number if I consult the chart there. And the defensive battle scenario adds a further +1 to that as well, totaling 7, which is pretty reasonable. So just a quick overview of the stat line. So other than the extra bandits, they have a fairly decent move with a +2 to their dash as well. No combat bonus though, so that's good. Now moving over to these 2 numbers here, the first represents any bonuses to overcoming armor, the second for overcoming toughness. Now these we'll look more into when we get into the combat, but they only relate to melee weapons. Then there's a toughness of 3 and their armor rating of 1, plus any models in that group with any ranged weapons and what type they're armed with. Here it does say a self bow. I only have crossbow, so I'll just be using a crossbow. But the Whitewood Mercenary Company have Archer the Archer to take him on, so I'm sure it'll be fine. However, it doesn't end there. Every enemy needs a leader, so I'll need to roll on the leadership table to add one of the following leaders to the enemy force. Luckily, it was just a sergeant, but the scenario also adds a further sergeant to the battle, so that increases the enemy number to 9. So 7 bandits and 2 sergeants will be facing off against my heroes. Well, that escalated quickly. Next up, we need to look at deployment. In this engagement, I can only deploy 6 of my figures. Any excess will be off the battlefield, protecting any baggage mules or preventing sneaky rear attacks. As I only have 6, I'll deploy the current full might of the Whitewood Mercenary Company. My warband can deploy anywhere within 6 inches of my table edge. The bandits, however, can deploy a certain number to begin with, the remaining being set to the side for some outflanking shenanigans. The enemy deployment, I'll need to roll a d6 +2. I rolled a 4, so that means 6 of the 9 begin on the field. Ranged troops can't outflank, so the crossbowmen will deploy, as will the 2 sergeants, looking all very mean and scary. Before deploying the bandits, I'll need to work out how far away they deploy from my party. A roll of 2d6 +12 inches will determine that deployment area and the forwardmost point the enemy can deploy. The bandits are now deployed into 2 roughly equal groups, and it feels only right that each group has a sergeant leading them. A very mean looking, grim and scary sergeant. Remarkably, one looks a little bit like Peach the Unremarkable. So with the deployment done, let battle commence. Now, the members of the Whitewood Mercenary Company are fairly skilled and experienced in combat, some far less than others, looking at you, Peach. However, before any swords are drawn or any arrows are knocked and loosed, we need to determine the party's initiative order. As I mentioned in the previous video, every hero and follower has an agility stat. This is where this comes into play. For every member of the party, you roll a d6 and assign dice to each character. This is where an element of tactics comes into play. Any character assigned a dice that's equal or below their agility will act in the quick reactions phase. Then all the bandits will act in the enemy action phase, and those characters assigned a dice above their agility score will activate in the slow reaction phase. I suspect Peach the Unremarkable will be the slowest of the lot. Now, after rolling 6 dice to represent the 6 warriors I've got, in this round I will assign the 3 to Archer and the 3 ones to Kitty, Brenda and Bob. And finally, a 5 and a 6 will be assigned to Martin and Peach the Unremarkable, seeing as they're not particularly skilled combatants yet and have the reaction time of a dead snail. This means a good majority of my party will activate before the bandits can respond, hopefully slaying a few in the process. Now, I can use will points to change that and make them react in the quick reactions phase, but I'm going to save that in case I need it, because I might use them for other things as well. So I'm going to start first with turn 1's quick action phase. Now, when you activate a hero, you can perform a move and some other combat action like melee or ranged attack, or a non-combat action like dash, grab a weapon from your backpack, interact with an object or item, among many others. Seeing as my fighters were still some distance away, I dashed Brenda to the wall by the field. With her stout stature, I'm sure she can defend that wall very well. Whereas Kitty and Bob made their way down the path towards the abandoned farm and the largest group of bandits, keeping Archer back to lay down some covering fire with his longbow, as he will be more likely to hit if he remains stationary. Archer, though some distance back, can still draw a good clear shot at the bandits. The sergeant's a bit tougher, so he opts to reduce the enemy number by taking out a lowly bandit. Now, if I hit him with range attacks, all I need to do is consult the following chart. So I'll roll 1d6, I'll need a 3+ on a die if the enemy is within 6 inches of Archer and in the open. Well, that's not the case. A 5+ if the bandit is within weapon range and in the open, or a 6+ if the bandit is within weapon range and in cover. He's definitely not in cover, so it's definitely going to be a 5+. However, as he stood still, he can add his combat skill to the dice roll, but that's currently +0, so no real advantage there at the moment. Archer aims and hits with a roll of a 6. Good job, Archer. Archer the Archer. That's why he got that name. Next, we need to bypass any armor and toughness to see if we slay our target. This may seem a bit sluggish at first, but you'll notice it gets a little bit more speedy and slick with repetition. So first I'll need to consult the bandit's armor of 1, and I need to roll above this number. Equaling it will stun the bandit and the attack fails. As Archer got a 3, he bypassed that armor. Now we need to see if the arrow can kill the blackguard. This is the overcome toughness roll. The bandit has a toughness of 3, so as long as I beat that number, he's dead. Archer scores a fine roll of a 5, penetrating the stinking scumbag in the heart. He's dead and removed. 1 down, many more to go. Now, if I equaled or got below that number, then the bandit would have been stunned and wounded. During the course of the battle, we will get to cover both of these rules, so fear not, they will get covered. With all the quick actions completed, it's over to the bandits to activate. In the enemy phase, the majority of the bandits race forwards, screaming all manner of obscenities to the members of the Whitewood Mercenary Company, some comments less true than others. Though none were able to quite make it into melee this turn, the enemy bandit with a crossbow gets a chance to loose some bolts at the heroes. Now, if we look at the crossbow weapon stat line, the carrier will need to remain stationary to fire. The crossbow gives the bandit a +1 to his dice when overcoming the target's armor. So pretty punchy, obviously designed for penetrating armor. After scoring a successful hit and overcoming Archer's armor, or woolen livery more like, he does fail to overcome his toughness, thankfully. However, as this roll is in the category of equaling or below Archer's toughness, he is both wounded and stunned. Now, being stunned means Archer's temporarily knocked a little bit senseless. This will have a detrimental effect in melee, but for now he's fairly safe. Wounded, however, means he's taken a hit. He's still able to carry on, but if he gets wounded a second time during the course of the battle, he is instantly removed as a casualty. So he's holding on there. He's holding on. With the enemy actions completed, it's over to Peach and Martin. Peach clumsily stumbles across the field, tripping several times on his scabbard, a very awkward watch for all involved, whilst Martin cautiously makes his way down the path towards Kitty and Bob. I'm not sure he likes getting in that close to the enemy, if I'm honest. With turn 1 almost over, we move into the tracking phase. Any morale rolls are made here. As only one bandit's died, no one seemed too fussed about his demise. Also at this stage, we see if any of the outflanking bandits arrive. A d6 is rolled. If it is equal to or below the battle round or turn number, then reinforcements arrive. Obviously, with being turn 1, the bandits did not roll a 1, so I can only assume the bandits got lost or are waiting for a few of the heroes to be taken down before they make their move. Smart. So, on to battle round 2. During the initiative roll, my party rolls a 6, 4, a 3, 2 2s, and a 1. Again, it makes sense to leave Peach and Martin to go in the slow actions phase. Give Archer the 3 to match his agility, and a 2 to Kitty, as that's her agility stat too. However, I'm left with a small dilemma. I have a 2 and a 1 remaining. As Bob and Brenda only have an agility stat of 1, one of these heroes will have to wait. In the end, I decided that Brenda is the more experienced one, so she'll get to go before the bandits, leaving Bob to wait with the other 2 kluts. Knowing the bandit sergeant is probably a bigger threat than any others, Kitty charges into him with the aim of a quick takedown. Time for some up-and-close hand-to-hand combat. Melee combat takes place as a series of exchanges. The character who initiated the combat, this being Kitty, will be seen as the attacker, whilst the unwashed Peach lookalike is the defender. Again, like range attacks, at first this may seem long-winded, but within a few turns you'll just seamlessly fight epic duels without a thought. Typically, there are 3 exchanges in a melee fight. These follow 5 steps. First up, we select a weapon. This can only be done in the first exchange because obviously swapping weapons through a fight is not easy. Select an optional tactic. Again, that's totally up to you. There are 3 to pick from. Some add in dueling flavour, but the default is just a fight. And by the way, the enemy does not make use of tactics, so you're fine with that. You don't have to overcomplicate it. The push, where the loser gets pushed back 1 inch and then moved on to the next exchange to a maximum of 3. So in short, what you're basically doing is fighting 3 small duels in 1 turn of combat. So let's begin with Kitty as the first exchange's attacker. Each character rolls a d6, add in their combat skill. If the attacker scores high, they get to strike a blow. If the defender scores high, they avoid harm and become the attacker in the next exchange. And on a draw, the defender retreats 1 inch and the melee ends. No exchanges are made, even if it was just the first one. So quite quick and it's over. So moving on to exchange 1. So in the first exchange, the Bandit Sergeant rolls a 1 whilst Kitty rolls a 3. This is turned into a 4 because I've added the combat skill. However, the Bandit Sergeant has the parry skill. A natural 1 which he rolled deflects the attack, ending this exchange. The defender is pushed back 1 inch and Kitty steps into combat to continue the duel. I have 2 options. I can stay where I am or continue the fight. That is exactly what Kit is going to do. And as Kitty is still the attacker, she launches into exchange 2 with a furious thrust, scoring a 5, whereas the Bandit Sergeant scores a 4. Even with the combat skill added, Kitty easily wins this exchange. So next we need to overcome the Sergeant's armour of 1. Kitty scores a 5, easily bypassing the pathetic leather jerkin worn by this ne'er-do-well. Then it's a simple matter of trying to beat his toughness to kill the scumbag. Kitty scores a 4. Unfortunately, sergeants have a toughness of +1, making this fella's toughness value a 4, which would have caused a wound, similar to Archer's fate earlier. However, Kitty wields a bastard sword, which, looking at the stat, gives a +1 to overcome toughness. As this number is now higher than the sergeant's toughness, he is slain and removed. Well done, Kitty. Next up, Archer takes aim at the crossbowman, hoping to slay him like the bandit with the previous shot. Though he hits with a very difficult shot and overcomes the armour, all he was able to do was stun the bandit crossbowman and knock him off his feet. In Brenda's activation in the combat, there are several exchanges. Initially, she fails to win the first exchange, and as the fighters happen across an obstacle, in this case a wall, the defender was able to counterattack, meaning if he won, he could strike a blow back, which he does, causing Brenda to both be wounded and stunned. Not a great place to be in the first exchange. Because of this, Brenda becomes a defender, and the bandit sergeant she's fighting against gets a +1 to his combat bonus when they roll in the next exchange. However, even with the bandit's bonus, Brenda is still able to deflect his attacks, moving her back as the attacker in the third and final exchange. During this last exchange, Brenda wins the roll-off, overcomes his armour, and following Kitty's example, slays him. Pans out these sergeants aren't that good. During the enemy's action phase in turn 2, the remaining bandits move into combat against Bob and Peach. After several exchanges with Bob, the bandit is eventually beaten, stunned, and wounded, but not killed by the rookie mercenary. So when it comes to working out the armor rating of your heroes, all we need to do is look at this list of armor, which is on page 62, and we add it together to what armor they actually have or what they're wearing. So for Bob, he's wearing light armor, which gives him a rating of 1, and on top of that, he also has a shield, which adds a further +1 to that as well, giving him a total of 2. Now, other than just looking cool, helmets do give you some favourable chances when it comes to rolling for injuries in the post-game sequence, but we're not at that point yet, so we don't need to worry about it. Peach, still being very green and somewhat clumsy with a blade, stands firm and readies himself against the mean-looking cutthroat. As the bandit is the attacker, he thrusts his spear at Peach. Unable to parry the spear, he overcomes Peach the Unremarkable's armour, punctures through this very light padded hauberk, and overcoming the hardy farmer's toughness and takes him out. Oh dear. Peach the Unremarkable, the unready, and somewhat unwell, is removed as a casualty. Doesn't mean he's dead yet. We'll find that out later. In the slow actions phase, Martin notices Peach fall and decides to get as close to Kitty and Bob as possible, yet still keep his distance from the remaining bandits. At the end of turn 2, 2 bandit sergeants lie dead, with a further one being wounded by Bob. But this is not enough to discourage the enemy. The outflanking force still hasn't joined the fight, leaving those bandits currently engaged somewhat outnumbered. And for now, Peach the Unremarkable groans in the dirt of a field, hoping to survive the next few hours. Sounds remarkably like harvest time. Moving into turn 3 saw Kitty, Archer, Brenda and Bob all get to activate in the quick actions phase. Martin's just a bit slow off the mark, it would seem. He's not really a fighter, he's a scholar, he likes reading books. Kitty advances as fast as she can towards the crossbowman, hoping a shield will protect her from his bolts. Bob moves into combat with a wounded bandit and after a brief exchange slays him. Brenda moves into contact with a bandit that brought Peach low. Standing majestically over his broken body, she wounds the bandit lowlife. In the enemy action phase, the crossbowman misses Kitty, and the bandit and Brenda's melee results in a draw, ending the exchange. With very little else happening, it made sense to move into the tracking phase. The outflanking force still doesn't appear. I'm starting to wonder if this outflanking force didn't just scarper at the first sign of trouble. I mean, they are bandits, and I don't think there's that much loyalty. That's what I'm getting from this. However, the remaining bandits have to take a morale check. Now for morale, here you roll a d6 for each figure killed or removed, tallying up any 1s or 2s. These are morale failures. For each one, remove an enemy model from the battlefield. Now I did accidentally roll an extra d6 here because I mistakenly counted Peach's body amongst the corpses, but I'll have to live with that for this example. Now as I rolled a 1 and a 2, this meant both the remaining bandits flee and the members of the Whitewood Mercenary Company are victorious, and importantly, they hold the field of battle. Holding the field of battle is an important rule, certainly when it comes to knowing if you've won the scenario, as well as achieving an objective and getting some extra experience points as well. Now this will become more apparent in the next episode, where we look at the post-battle sequence, or the resolution stage as it's known. Here our heroes will gain experience, maybe find some loot, see what terrible injuries and fate awaits Peach the Unremarkable and very unwell, as well as continuing on to the contract of rescuing a priest in distress. And if Peach survives, maybe hear that song about bulls. I know you're all desperately waiting to hear it. Honestly, I don't even think it's worth your time. Let's just hope Peach doesn't have a throat injury and can't sing. That's all I'm saying. Regardless, I hope you enjoyed this brief introduction on a battle encounter in 5 Leagues from the Borderlands. I'll catch you in the next video. Until then, farewell, adventurers.